You know, when you first meet a narcissist, they can seem dazzling like the sun shining so brightly, you almost forget to look at the shadows. But here's the thing, their power isn't really about what they show you, it's about what they make you feel inside. Their control depends entirely on yourself. Doubt the tiny, quiet voice that asks, "Am I enough? Did I do something wrong?" The moment you start to reclaim your confidence, that's when everything changes. Because once you own your worth, the game they've been playing starts to fall apart right before their eyes. A narcissist's power depends on yourself. Doubt once you reclaim your confidence, their control begins to slip. When we talk about narcissists, we often think of someone who's loud, overly confident, and maybe even charming in a way that feels magnetic but shallow. But the real secret to their power lies not in what they say or do out loud, it's in how they feed on your insecurities, your moments of doubt, and the parts of you that question your worth. The control they exert isn't just about domination, it's about keeping you off balance, unsure of yourself, desperate for their approval. That's where their power lies. Think about it. Narcissists thrive when you feel less than, when you question your decisions, when you look to them to fill a void of confidence inside you. They don't need to be overtly cruel or aggressive to maintain control. Sometimes, the smallest seeds of doubt they plant can grow into forests of uncertainty that keep you trapped. You start second, guessing your feelings, your memories, your instincts, all because somewhere along the way, you internalized their distorted version of reality. And this is no accident, it's a deliberate tactic. When you're unsure, you'll come running back. When you question your worth, you'll seek their validation. When you don't trust yourself, their narrative becomes your truth. And so, the cycle continues. Their power is sustained by your willingness to doubt yourself, to look outside instead of inside for answers. But the moment you begin to reclaim your confidence, to stand in your own truth, something shifts in the dynamic. Their grip loosens because they're no longer your source of certainty. Reclaiming your confidence is the ultimate form of resistance. It's not about arrogance or pretending you have all the answers. It's about developing a quiet, steady belief in your own value. It's about trusting your feelings, your experiences, your intuition without needing someone else's approval to validate them. This is what breaks the narcissist's hold, because their entire strategy depends on you feeling small, confused, and vulnerable. When you become unshakable in your self-worth, you become immune to their games. This process isn't always easy. Rebuilding confidence after emotional manipulation requires patience, self-compassion, and sometimes even professional support. But it's also deeply empowering because it shifts the power back into your hands. You stop waiting for permission to feel worthy. You stop bending your truth to fit their narrative. Instead, you start living according to your own standards, your own values. And the more you do this, the more the narcissist's control slips away. They'll try to push your buttons, to trigger your insecurities, but the reaction isn't there anymore. You meet their tactics with calm clarity rather than panic or desperation. This doesn't mean you become cold or distant. It means you've built a protective boundary around your inner world, and that boundary is what keeps you safe and free. The beauty of reclaiming your confidence is that it's contagious. When you show up as your strongest, most authentic self, you inspire others to do the same. You create a ripple effect that challenges the toxic patterns of control and manipulation in your life and those around you. So, the real power doesn't just come from breaking free, it comes from the transformation you create in yourself and in your world. The moment you stop chasing and start choosing, a narcissist feels the shift, and they don't like it. One of the most subtle but profound changes you can make when dealing with a narcissist is to stop chasing, not physically running after them, but emotionally, mentally, energetically. Narcissists have mastered the art of making you feel like you have to earn their attention, affection, and approval. Their behavior teaches you to chase their love, chase their validation, chase moments of kindness that come in bursts. But the moment you decide that you will no longer chase, that you will instead choose what serves you and what doesn't, You flip the entire power dynamic on its head. Choosing means that you take responsibility for your own emotional state. It means you no longer base your happiness or self-worth on someone else's unpredictable behavior. You choose your boundaries, your peace, your time, and your energy. You choose relationships that build you up rather than tear you down. And you choose yourself every single day, even when it's hard. This is where true power lies. For a narcissist, this shift is terrifying, because they have built their world on the premise that you will always be the one chasing. When you break that pattern and become the chooser, they lose their role as the puppet master. They suddenly find themselves confronted with a version of you that is no longer available to manipulation or control. This threatens their sense of superiority and their belief that they are indispensable in your life. You might notice that when you start making choices based on your own well-being, the narcissist reacts in ways that seem confusing or manipulative. They might increase their efforts to reel you back in, playing on guilt, fear, or nostalgia. They might remind you of all they've done, or accuse you of being selfish or cold. This is a classic tactic designed to make you doubt your decision to choose yourself. But choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's the act of recognizing that your happiness doesn't depend on someone else's approval. It's about valuing your time and energy enough to say no when something doesn't align with your needs. And it's about stepping into your own power by taking control of your own life, rather than giving it away to someone who thrives on control. When you choose rather than chase, you create a healthy space where relationships can be genuine and mutual, not manipulative and one-sided. You send a clear message that you're no longer a passive participant in someone else's story. You are the author of your own. And while the narcissist might hate this shift, the truth is it frees you. Choosing yourself means you get to define what love, respect, and care look like for you. It means you refuse to settle for crumbs or conditional affection. It means you honor your own worth enough to walk away from anything that diminishes it. And that choice is the ultimate act of self-love, the foundation for every healthy relationship that can come after. The moment you stop chasing and start choosing, you move from being a victim of manipulation to being an empowered individual who controls their own destiny. And that shift, as uncomfortable as it may feel at first, is where your real strength begins to show. When manipulation stops working, they escalate charm or cruelty to pull you back in. One of the most confusing and exhausting things about dealing with a narcissist is the way their behavior shifts so quickly and unpredictably. When their usual manipulation tactics no longer get the response they want, they don't just give up. Instead, they escalate, turning up the volume on their charm or their cruelty to reel you back in. This sudden change can throw you off balance because it feels like two completely different people in one, and it's designed that way on purpose. At first, a narcissist might use manipulation that's more subtle, little digs disguised as jokes, guilt, trips that feel like concern, or gaslighting that makes you question your own memories. These tactics are calculated to weigh you down slowly, chipping away at your confidence bit by bit. But when you stop responding the way they want, when you become resistant to their usual methods, they don't just retreat, they double down, sometimes with an overwhelming wave of charm. This charm isn't genuine, it's a weapon. You might see grand gestures, exaggerated apologies, sudden declarations of love, or promises to change. It feels intoxicating, like a whirlwind that sweeps away your doubts. But this charm is a calculated effort to regain control, to make you feel special and dependent again. The key is to notice the pattern. These bursts of affection often come right after a period of coldness or cruelty. They aren't about healing, they're about hooking you back in. If the charm doesn't work, or if you resist it, narcissists can turn crueler. They escalate their cruelty as a way to punish you for not playing by their rules. This might look like silent treatment, insults disguised as truths, public humiliation, or outright emotional abuse. The goal is to destabilize you again, to remind you that they still have power over your emotional world. This cruelty is a terrifying reminder of the volatility of being involved with someone who views relationships as a game of control. What makes this cycle so dangerous is that it keeps you constantly guessing and emotionally exhausted. One moment you're caught up in the high of their attention, the next you're reeling from their rejection or harshness. This push-pull dynamic is exhausting, but it's exactly what keeps you tied to the relationship. Your brain starts craving the highs because the lows are so painful, and this cycle becomes addictive. Understanding this pattern is crucial because it helps you detach emotionally from their tactics. When you realize that their charm and cruelty are just two sides of the same strategy, you can start to protect yourself from being drawn back in. Recognizing the escalation means you don't get caught off guard. You start to see it coming, and that awareness gives you power. You stop interpreting their charm as genuine love and their cruelty as your fault, and instead see both for what they are: attempts to maintain control over you. Our independence is seen as defiance because it threatens their illusion of control. One of the biggest threats a narcissist faces is your independence. When you start making decisions for yourself, setting boundaries, and living according to your own values, you challenge the very foundation of their control. For a narcissist, your independence doesn't represent growth or strength. It's an act of defiance, a challenge to their authority that they cannot tolerate. This happens because narcissists don't view relationships as partnerships. They see them as opportunities for domination and control. When you rely on them for your emotional needs or self-esteem, they feel powerful. But when you break free from that dependency, they feel exposed and vulnerable. Your independence is a mirror reflecting their own insecurities, which they try desperately to hide. Because of this, when you claim your independence, you often face backlash. You might be accused of being rebellious, selfish, or ungrateful. They might dismiss your opinions, minimize your accomplishments, or try to guilt you into compliance. These reactions are not about you. They're about their fear of losing control. They use these tactics to try to shame you back into the role they expect you to play: compliant, dependent, and easy to manipulate. What makes this dynamic so painful is that your independence is actually a sign of strength and self-respect. When you stand firm in your boundaries, you're showing that you value yourself enough not to tolerate manipulation or disrespect. But a narcissist interprets this strength as a direct threat to their ego and their hold over you. This misinterpretation leads to more attempts to control and undermine you, but it also exposes their fragility. Narcissists depend on others' submission to maintain their grandiose self-image, and your independence threatens to shatter that illusion. It's like pulling a rug out from under them. They scramble to regain footing by any means necessary, often through increased criticism or emotional manipulation. The truth is, your independence is one of your greatest assets. It's the foundation for any healthy relationship because it means you are whole and complete on your own. You're not seeking validation or approval. You're choosing to be in relationship from a place of strength, not neediness. This scares narcissists because it means they no longer have the upper hand. Recognizing how your independence triggers a narcissist's defensiveness can help you stay grounded. It reminds you that their attempts to undermine you aren't reflections of your worth or abilities, but expressions of their own insecurity and need for control. This understanding empowers you to hold your boundaries firmly and keep growing into your authentic self, no matter how hard they try to pull you back. They reframe your strength as coldness to make you question your own growth. When you start setting boundaries and standing strong, a narcissist won't applaud your growth. Instead, they'll twist it into something negative. Your confidence becomes coldness, your self-respect becomes distance, and your independence becomes being difficult. This reframing is a tactic designed to confuse you and make you doubt if you're really doing the right thing. They want you to question your growth because if you believe their version of you, you might retreat back into old patterns where they had control. But your strength is not coldness, it's courage, and recognizing this distinction helps you stay anchored in your truth. If affection fails, silence becomes their final weapon to regain dominance. When charm and manipulation don't work, narcissists often resort to the silent treatment. This withdrawal isn't about giving you space, it's a calculated power move. Silence is their way of punishing you, making you feel invisible, unworthy, and desperate for their attention again. It's meant to destabilize your emotional balance and draw you back into their control. But knowing this can help you resist the pull of their silence. Their absence is not a reflection of your value, but a last-ditch effort to reassert control over your emotions and choices. A narcissist doesn't miss you, they miss their power over you. When a narcissist seems to miss you, what they're really longing for is the control and supply they once had. It's not your presence they crave, but the sense of dominance, the feeling of being needed and admired. Their version of missing you is tied to their own ego, not genuine affection or care. Understanding this helps you detach from false hope and see their attempts to reconnect for what they are, efforts to reclaim what they lost, not to rebuild something real. Your self-respect is not an act of rebellion, it's a return to who you really are. Choosing yourself and setting boundaries isn't about fighting or defying anyone, it's about reclaiming your true identity that was buried under manipulation and control. Your self-respect is a natural state, not something rebellious. It means honoring your needs, your feelings, and your worth. This is the foundation of healthy relationships and personal peace. When you hold on to your self-respect, you're not pushing others away. You're making room for genuine connections based on mutual respect and love. Their greatest fear isn't losing you, it's losing the version of you they could control. What terrifies a narcissist isn't your departure or independence itself. It's the loss of the version of you that was pliable, uncertain, and easy to manipulate. They fear the empowered, confident you who refuses to be controlled or diminished. This is why they resist your growth so fiercely and try to pull you back into old patterns. They're not afraid of losing a person, they're afraid of losing their power over that person. The real victory is not in hurting them back, but in becoming someone they can no longer reach. True empowerment doesn't come from revenge or retaliation. It comes from evolving into a version of yourself that exists beyond their influence. When you heal, grow, and build your life without needing their approval or presence, you achieve a freedom that no manipulation can touch. This is the ultimate triumph, a life where their reach simply no longer extends. So, what have we uncovered here? Narcissists thrive on your uncertainty. They need you chasing their approval, doubting your own value, and bending to their will. But when you stop chasing and start choosing, that power dynamic flips. They'll try to reel you back in with charm, then lash out with cruelty when that fails. Your independence threatens their grip, so they reframe your strength as coldness, silence you to punish you, and manipulate your emotions to regain control. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. They don't truly miss you. They miss their power over you. Your real victory isn't about hurting them back, it's about becoming someone they can no longer reach. You reclaim your self-respect and live free on your own terms. That is where true freedom and peace begin. If you want more insights like this, keep coming back to Matthew Hussey Track, because understanding these dynamics is the first step to taking your power back and living the life you deserve. Remember, your strength is your freedom. Keep choosing yourself. I'm here with you every step of the way. Subscribe to Matthew Hussey Track for more, because your best life starts when you say, "Not anymore."